In order to prevent a complete grid failure, ERCOT says it had no other choice but to order outages.
I just don't know how long we're going to be out, right? And I think that's probably the frustration more than anything else, is just not knowing, right?
But while millions of Texans lost electricity, the power to hospitals, 911 centers, and fire stations was left on. They were protected from the outages because they were on the critical list. Gas production facilities at fuel power plants should have also been on that list, but many were not. And so when power plants needed natural gas to keep running, natural gas plants were powerless, leaving Texans suffering in the dark and in the cold. This is the story of why.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members. I'm Alan Nye. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Encore Electric Delivery Company.
The CEOs of the state's largest electric providers told lawmakers to be put on their critical list. All gas producers needed to do was to fill out this form. Before the storms, Encore had 35 gas facilities on its critical list. None of those ever lost power. During the storms, dozens of others frantically called. Encore says by the end of the week, 168 gas facilities had been added to the list.
I'm not pointing fingers because I'm part of this, but those people have to tell me what is critical so I can keep it on.
If it were really that simple, I don't think the circumstances would have ever occurred.
Todd Staples is the president of the Texas Oil and Gas Association. He says what electric providers failed to mention is this particular form was not available before the storms. Look at the date. It was just recently updated. This is the form that was up before the storms. Staples says the old form was confusing. Many gas facilities were not clear whether they were even eligible to be on the critical list, which is why he says many never filled it out.
I think this is a real sign of the lack of communication.
But this lack of communication of whose power needs to be kept on is nothing new. After the 2011 Texas winter storm, this federal report noted Texas gas producers should identify portions of their systems that are essential. A year later, the state established the Energy Assurance Plan, calling on state agencies to work together to ensure that no gas facilities critical to power generation suffer rotating outages. And yet, nearly a decade after these warnings, that's exactly what happened. So now what? Some have suggested instead of relying on gas facilities to voluntarily notify electric providers that the state needs to have a mapping system. Today, the Texas Senate passed a bill that includes the mapping of the power supply chain. With the I-Team, Brian New, CBS 11 News.